Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheetcottage.net. So did you know that the Cricut Joy now has its own app? If you're struggling in Design Space, you just bought the Cricut Joy and you're not sure how to work Design Space, you want something simple and easy to use, just with the press of a few buttons, you can have your Cricut Joy running, spitting out those projects, the Cricut Joy app might just be for you. So I thought today that we would go through the app itself, take a look at how it works, so you can get a better idea of how to use it, and if it might be right for you. Now, just look for the Cricut Joy app in the App Store. It is just for iOS users right now. Hopefully they'll release an Android version at some point, but it is just for iOS, so keep that in mind when you're watching. So let's head to the app and take a look at some of the features. So the first thing you'll notice is that my screen is vertical. That is because the Cricut Joy app actually doesn't turn to landscape. So if you turn your device, the actual app won't turn. Just wanted to note that. Not a huge deal if you're working on, your iPad or your iPhone. It's plenty big enough. But for this video, I just wanted to note that because it will be a little small on your video. First of all, when you start with the Cricut Joy app, you will need to log in. And you can see that it says Welcome Angie at the top. And then we can just click Start on any of these. So we have quick labels, iron-on and infusible ink transfers, vinyl stickers and decals, and paper crafts. And then at the bottom, you can also click My Stuff. And that's where anything you save in the Cricut Joy app will go there. Now, if you save it in Cricut Design Space or the Cricut Design Space app, it will not show up there. And then if you click your picture, you can kind of see units of measure. You can change to metric if you would like. You can see your software version. There's a help center or the number to call member care, that type of thing. Or you could sign out if you needed to. So let's get started with quick labels first. And you can see it'll tell you what supplies you need. And it'll give you an overview if you need it. You can click and see about the cutting mats, smart label tips, that type of thing. Otherwise, you can just click Start Making. Now, that gives you a ton of different options. So we have cutout labels, where the words will be cut out of a label. More cutout labels, and this time it has the word as well as a decorative cutout. Then we have drawn labels. So with the Cricut Joy, there's a smart label material, and you can draw on it with pens. So these are drawn labels. And then we have letter-only cut labels. So if you wanted just to cut a word out of vinyl to use for labels, this would be the way to do that. So let's just pick a drawn label for illustration. And we'll click Next, and we'll get to the dimensions. So I can punch whatever dimensions in here I would like. Now, remember that there is a maximum size for width with the Cricut Joy. It will actually tell you if you go over that. So let's just try to go over that. So let's see the minimum size. It tells you that. And let's say I wanted 6 inches by 6 inches, which is not possible. So it will tell you that the height cannot exceed 4.25. So then I could change that to 4.25, and I'm well within my maximum limits. Now down here, you want to enter your text for your labels. So we can just start entering. Let's say we were in our pantry and we wanted to make some pantry labels for some canisters. So, and then we'll do Done when we have all 4 in there, and Next. And now we can see our 4 labels, how big they are, and we can see a preview of those. If we click Change up here, we go back to that same screen, and we could change the size or the text. Next again, down at the bottom, you can click Edit, and here you can change a variety of things. I could change the font. I could change, on some of the fonts, they might have like an italics, and that would be where the style would come in. You can also pick different styles of fonts up here to kind of filter them out. So I like fonts that are this handwritten, and I could pick something that looked like that if I wanted to change my font. And then the X takes you out without saving. The check mark at the bottom saves your work. So we'll do a check mark. And then this other button lets you change the pen type. Now, I will note that you can't do multiple colors in the app. In Cricut Design Space, you could. So in Cricut Design Space, I could make the outline around the label one color and the word a different color. In the Cricut Joy app, all of it needs to be one color. I can also do material and change my material color. And this is more to get a visual of what it's going to look like. So I'm going to change it, does that look good? Do I like that? That type of thing. So then we can click the check mark again to save that. Click done. And now we're going to go to next. Now we're going to pick our material. And remember, we picked a drawn label, which would be on either the Smart Label writable paper or the Smart Label writable vinyl. So let's say I have the writable paper and I'm going to load it without a mat because it is the Smart Label material. You do not need to mirror your design, but if you did, you would click this button. It tells you your material size, so it tells you right here that how much material you'll need, as well as the tools you will need, which is the fine point tipped pen, and that you have smart material. And then we can click preview at the bottom if we wanted to see that. So this is how the labels will look as they come out of our Cricut Joy. So that's why I need the 28.29 inches of material. Remember that we're cutting this matless, so it can cut that longer material. And then we would click make it if all of this looks correct to us. And it would actually find our Cricut Joy. So once it finds it, you just click it. And that pairs the Bluetooth. So now the app is connecting to my Cricut Joy. You want to say that you allow it to use your Bluetooth. And once it recognizes your device, then it will start walking you through how to actually make your labels. So it'll walk you through inserting it, and it tells you your machine is ready to load. If you have any trouble, you can unload your material by clicking the link at the bottom. So it will walk you through the steps of making those labels. So let's go back, and just to note that when I click cancel, the labels cannot be saved. So if you're in there, you're working on them, you'll want to go ahead and make them and not depend on saving them for later. So we are going to quit anyway, and we're going to look at some of the other options. So if I wanted to make an iron-on transfer for, say, a onesie, I could click design my own. Again, it tells you all the supplies you'll need. It has some links on like an overview of iron-on if you need it, an overview of cutting mats, that type of thing. But we'll just go to start designing. And the first thing you're going to want to do is choose an orientation for your design. So hopefully you already have a design in mind. I'm going to go with portrait. And now, once again, I can select my dimensions. Now this width will be the maximum width, but I could change my height. So I want it to be 5 inches high, let's say. And once again, it will tell you if you go over that maximum width. And now we're going to click next. And we can start adding in images, shapes, or text. How do we do that? The buttons across the bottom. The first one is images. And you can see recently added images or featured images. And when you click on those, the A comes free with your Access subscription. And you can add, we'll just add one of these just to click the check mark at the bottom when we have the one we wanted highlighted. And that will add it to our canvas. And then we could pull this arrow and resize it. We could type into these boxes a certain measurement. We could unlock it here. And then when we resize it, only one of the dimensions will change. And if we unlock here and use the arrow, we can actually move using the sides and change the dimensions that way. Once you're through changing the dimensions, we'll just click that check mark. Now, if we want to add more to this design, we'll do the plus at the bottom, and we could do a shape, let's say a circle, and we can make that 4.25, and actually just make that small and we'll put it to the side. And now we could add text. Let's add the word baby. Now, let's move this stuff around a little bit. And if you notice that just happened, if that happens to you, these arrows in the corner will make it big again. So I just kind of accidentally hit that. Okay, so now we have our circle, and we have the word baby. What I can do is put that circle and the word baby together, and then click on the word baby, and right now it's cutting the word baby out. But if I click this other pair of scissors, it actually cuts the word baby out of the circle I had it on. So that's how kind of to slice things in this app. So now that's all the plus features. And then we can also go here and we can change material colors. Again, note that I can only use one material color. So I would have to do one canvas with the seal and one canvas with the circle with the baby in order to get two different colors. I can't do them both at one time in here. So now if we're done editing, we'll click done. And if we needed to go back, we would click edit, and we could edit some more. And then we'll click next. And here we'll pick our material. And again, we chose an iron-on design, so only those materials are on this screen. You would need to go back and redesign to make it on something else. So we're gonna say we're gonna make that out of everyday iron-on. We're gonna put that on the mat, and it already mirrors it for us. So it knows that with everyday iron-on, we need to mirror and put our material face down on the mat. Then it tells you what size piece of everyday iron-on you need and what size mat will work with that. Again, we can preview that. We can see that it's mirrored, that everything looks good. And then once again, we can click make it, and it'll walk us through making that with our Cricut Joy. Now these can actually be saved. So when I try to close out of there, it actually asks me to save it. So I can choose to name it and save it. And let's just do that so we can look at where those appear. So now I saved that design. I can go to my stuff, and then you can see that the project we just saved is there, and it's called test, and it tells me it was an iron-on design. So now let's go back to home and try some of these other ones. So we can make a vinyl sticker or decal. Again, same type of thing on the first screen. We click start designing, and this is basically the same as iron-on. So I can change my size. I can add images or shapes. So note there that I wasn't wild about that shape after I added it, so I actually just clicked that X to delete, so you can click the X as well. And then the X deletes it, and then in the lower corner you can actually click that little double square button, and you can actually duplicate anything. So that's another tip when you're using this canvas. Now, I did want to note, let's say that I type test, and it also, so I made that object too small. So if you see that, it'll also tell you if your object is too small. So we're going to make that a little bigger, and we are going to make that a right. So this is cut, remember. This is like sliced out of. And if you have this option, you could actually write on the top of that leaf. And we can click the A, and again, we can change the text, the style, the alignment, any of those things right in the app. So let's pick Roman and click the check mark, and then we could add, again, we could add more shapes or whatever, but let's just say we're done. So we'll click done.
Now, if you'll note, we'll click next, pick our material. Again, it's only the materials that are vinyl because we're on vinyl. Now, if we want to use, let's say we pick premium vinyl, it's going to tell me to put it on the mat, and we don't need to mirror our design. If we did, we would click that, but again, it knows we don't need to. And let's click with this preview button. Now you can see that that text stayed on the leaf and the leaf stayed in position. So something you have to do in the Design Space app is attach things together to get them to stay in position. But this Cricut Joy app, they actually stay right in position, which is something that is kind of convenient. Just close that preview. Again, we'll click Make It. It'll connect to our Joy, and then we can cut our project and it will walk us through that. But let's go back. Again, I could save. This time I'm going to click Don't Save. And we can finally, the last one is paper crafts. So we could click Design Our Own. Again, it has some links for you if you need help. And we'll just do a little bit of different thing. And we can do something like this. And then once again, we could add some text. And let's say we're going to slice it out this time. And we can change the material color if we liked. Done. Next. This time, here are our material choices. So these are the paper products that Cricut says the Cricut Joy can cut. So those are the only ones on there. Again, the mirror is not picked because generally you wouldn't mirror cardstock, but if you wanted to for some reason, we could absolutely do that. And then we could also preview our design just like always. Click Make It and walk through making it. So that is the Cricut Joy app, the ins and outs and how to use it.
So I hope you enjoyed that. I do think the app is really great for those of you that are just starting out, got the Cricut Joy for your first machine, Design Space is confusing you, that type of thing. The Joy app is definitely a lot simpler, but it does take away some of the features of Design Space, so you can't customize your projects as much. But it is a great starting platform. Plus, it's 100% free, just like Cricut Design Space. So download the Cricut Joy app, start adding those projects onto your canvas, start cutting away with your Cricut Joy and making all the things. Once you get your feet wet, maybe then dive into Design Space, and you probably will understand it a little bit better once you're more familiar with your machine. We also have a ton of tutorials on Design Space. So if you want to start with the Cricut Joy app and then watch the tutorials on Design Space until you're familiar, that's also an option. Just head on over to our YouTube channel. While you're there, hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss any of our videos. But you can scroll down right on the main page. There's a Cricut Basics section. Start with those videos. It'll definitely start explaining the basics of your Cricut machine and allowing you to get more familiar with Cricut Design Space. Now, if you have any questions about anything we've covered today, you can drop down in the comments section, ask away. If you have questions about your Cricut Joy in general, drop down there, ask those. I'll drop a link to a video we've done in the past, or I might put it on my list to do a video in the future, just answering your question. If you love this video, if it helped you, please give us a thumbs up. So thank y'all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next week with another great Cricut video. Thanks y'all, bye-bye.